Tonight's review will be rated M for mature audiences and will contain adult themes and coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, it's come this far in Hasbro's Power Rangers Lightning Collection, but knowing this is not going to be a good outcome, as the most regrettable reveals happened only weeks ago, and then the pre-orders started going up on the 15th of August. And now, we're here. But were these really the toys we deserved getting?
Damn! You look confused, boy! What it's all?
The cracks are starting to show up within the Lightning Collection after what seems to be the staggering releases coming from Asian factories. Test shots showing up, and most people were expecting the Green Ranger to show up. And then a few more official solicitations rolled into the interwebs, and we were not happy about it.
Oh no.
I don't know. It looks like a wig or a toupee. I know what they're going for. It's like his dreads, right?
Together? It's just like, it doesn't look like hair.
That forehead, man.
Like, it says something so taboo about Jason David Frank's
I
likeness.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's doing the pose there.
What is this?
Out of curiosity, I wanted the wave for several reasons. The opportunity down the road may not hit in the country, and I needed to review them. Two of them wound up in my house on a Friday afternoon, and I only ordered them on a Wednesday because Australia Post was on heavy delays. Not only I'll be reviewing Zeo Ranger V, but I'll be putting Goldar in the mix to save some time, as he doesn't really deserve a feature video unlike Gold Ranger. Zeo Ranger V rectified a lot of the errors that were existing on Zeo Ranger III. One of the most frequent complaints that were apparent were the silver lining on the helmet, lack of personal weapon, battle stick and king blaster were the only weapons included, paint rubbing off from handling the weapons, that god-awful head that did not look like Steve Cardenas, and that seemed to be it, ignoring missing detail when the butterfly joints are moved more than 45 degrees. But in retrospect, that's where the details end, and it'll be awkward to duplicate some of the details. The choice of hands was a perfect choice of hands. The way the hinges are in the best position of the natural hand poses. Let's be real, there's not many occasions where we'll be handling your weapons like this. Or this. Or this. They really need to drop this hinge that is on all the figures, and adapt this. This is the future. This is the key we call success. Admit it, the new figures would have been 100 times better if they were packaged with these joints. But now look them side by side, and there's some obvious corner cutting on the paint application. No longer we have white paint on the butterfly joints. The gold at the end of the cuffs are gone. There seems to be a gap between the helmet, unless that was an aesthetic choice, which to be fair, it doesn't seem to work well for me. The head of Jason David Frank was one of the more questionable. Something about Jason David Frank's countenance just doesn't translate well into action figures. Even the first White Ranger figure didn't seem to hit home with the head sculpt, making the Tamashii Nation's 25th anniversary Figure Arts White Ranger look better in comparison. If it weren't for the dot matrix texture, I would have snagged it. I ended up donating the head to the White Ranger shrine.
Fuck. Come on. Go on. Alright. Alright.
There was one positive out of this set. It would have been the inclusion of a Star Riser, Zeo 5 Power Sword. The Star Riser hasn't dremelled out the gaps. Understating toy versions of the Star Riser aside from the Narakiri version, it's understandable why they went this route. One thing I don't get is the length of the blade just seems weak in comparison to the props. There's no version of this that can connect to the King Blaster. It is most likely that Hasbro will force you to buy an unrelated figure to acquire the Big Bang Buster. The blast effects. It's there. That's it. Unlike Zeo Ranger III, which ended up being an unconditional disappointment of a figure, it seems Zeo Ranger V, or O-Red, attempts to course correct its errors that were present. Yeah, I haven't used much of the Japanese names in the review so far. Regardless, it's a hard pass if you're hardcore for O-Ranger or Zeo merchandise. It's just too hard of a justifiable recommendation at this point. Goldar or Grifforzer was one of the most controversial releases aside from MMPR Black, but put this in the perspective of an Australian. We don't have GameStops. The only Babbage's franchise we have is EB Games. And that is even unrelated to GameStop because somehow it apparently became its own thing. Zing is technically the collector store associated with EB Games, always on the bottom level of the damn store. Because Power Rangers toys are barely in stock, they don't clog their inventory with it. Unless it's a Marvel Legends or a Black Series, we're not getting it stateside outside of the United States. Some are either hit or miss, and most of the time Zing attempts to get stock from Target and Walmart exclusives. They don't seem to be that much rare now, so I know where to get them. What's the problem? Well, first of all, I don't own a Goldar. Everyone was so pissed when Goldar was the 4th figure. He didn't come with his wings, and his sword was given more paint and a new effect was added. This was just the Malibu Stacy with a new hat of Power Rangers toys.
But she's got a new hat.
Not to say this doesn't happen at all, far from it. Every toy does this, even King Ranger. But that was because it needed a feature review. Unlike Goldar, SDCC exclusives were difficult to acquire. Goldar was technically difficult to acquire. I just missed the opportunity when I saw it for sale at $40 to $80 AUD. I get it. I get why they do this. Money. But from an outsider perspective, I like it. It's a nice sculpt overall. I'm pleased of how they managed to get all the features of Grifforzer in a 6-inch figure. Too many rivets and so much over-designed details was sculpted well. It was unfortunate who handled the task of the sculpt because Grifforzer was not meant to be designed as a toy. It makes me wonder how they'll tackle Diabolico and Olympius. Without his wings, it's obvious he can balance. And if you wanted to see what the parts that replace the wings look like, there you go. Very anticlimactic on the counts that several people have reviewed this toy last year. It's no different. I guarantee that I wasted your time just for the views. I would want to put one of my rants in here again, but I already half-arsed it since it's kind of complicated. Wave 6 in general is far the worst wave we ever got so far. And that's saying a lot. These figures aren't terrible, far from it. They look nice in my studio display and they don't shatter in a hand like a grenade. The handling of this wave though, could have been done better. Now Hasbro is watermarking the images to detect where the leaks are coming from. From that, they're pretty much strapped to tackling leaks in the action figure collecting circles. In what possibly could have been a creation of a divide between the consumer and the corporations collecting info. But of course they probably wouldn't even care if they don't know who you are.
Mega. シルバーブレイザー。これで君もメガシルバー